Hello and welcome to yet another episode. In today's episode, we're going to make some interesting, disgusting trash bags. Before we get started, I want to thank my patrons for supporting this channel. I do have some amazing unreleased projects on my Patreon, and I would love for you to check it out. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in a fresh new scene of Blender, and to make a trash bag, the first thing that we need is actual trash. So, the easiest, crudest way of making a trash is using a metaball. Let's duplicate it a couple more times and let's make a weird shape. Now I'm going to select all of them and right click, convert to mesh. Now that's the most basic form of trash you could make. I mean, you could also add some cubes, scale them up and down to give it a little more of dimension, whatever you like. But let's keep it basic for now. And the next thing I'm going to do is add a plane. Increase its size, rotate it in x-axis by 90 degrees. Let's move it to the side. I'll press Ctrl 5 and it will create a subdivision modifier. Let's select simple and viewport levels to 5. Let's apply the modifier, and if I go back to edit mode, we have this thing. Let's go into the x axis view, select all of these faces, press Shift D and move them in the opposite axis. And there we have it, the other side of our trash bag. Let's go into the Y axis and enable our X-ray mode. I'm going to select all the vertices on the edges except the top edge. Well, I'm going to go into edge and bridge edge loops, and there we have it. I'll go into the face mode. In edit mode, I'll select all these newly created faces, not the ones that were already there. I'll press X and delete only faces. Now we have these edges connecting the two sides of our trash bag. Next thing that I'm going to do is go back to edit mode and head on over to the y-axis and select a single row from the top section, and I'll press Ctrl G to assign to a new group. And if I go into my vertex groups, it is already assigned. Next thing that I need is to go back into object mode. I'll select my trash, go into the physics properties and add a collision tag to it. I'll increase the friction a little bit for cloth and soft body and increase the dampening as well. Now let me select my bag and add a cloth tag to it. Now in the bottom of the cloth settings, let's disable gravity. Let's enable swing, and let's also increase the collision quality to like 10. Let's enable self collision. In the properties weights, in the shrinking group, let's select the group that we made. This will be the top part of a trash bag, just like a flower. And what's the other thing that we need? Yeah, we also need to increase the shrinking, max shrinking to 1. And in my cache, let's set it to 20 frames and let's bake it. See how it looks. And there we go. And I'll disable the X-ray mode, and we have some sort of basic trash bag. And to make it a little better, I'm going to set shade smooth and go into the modifiers tab and add a subdivision surface modifier. You see the problem right away that this edge is really sharp. That's because these vertices are from two different parts and they are not yet connected to each other. So what I'm going to do is add a weld modifier before the subdivision modifier, and this gives us a problem in our normals. That's because if I head on over to edit mode and I see by enabling face normals that this side of our trash bag is facing outward, whereas this side is facing inward. Let me enable the X-ray mode, select all these faces, press Alt N and flip them. Now if I head out of edit mode and disable the X-ray, all the normal problems have gone. The last thing that I need to do is right click, set origin to geometry and apply the cloth modifier and the weld modifier. You don't really need to apply the subdivision modifier, but keeping it on helps to make it better. Last thing to do is add a texture. Now this particular trash bag texture is using a couple different roughness maps as normals and roughness together, whereas here's a simple one which uses just a noise texture with a bump map applied to the normal, and the same noise texture is used as roughness, and I'm just using a Fresnel node to give it that sort of sheen at the edges. I can increase the normal strength to make it look a little better. Now this particular trash bag is pretty small, not in terms of world scale. I'm guessing in terms of world scale it is larger than a human. You could scale it down, but I meant in terms of amount of trash. So you could play around with the trash, by which I mean is you could create some complex trash stuff. This is just some cubes scattered inside the metaball stuff, and after that I applied this trash bag simulation. Another thing I noticed is if you apply a polka dot texture on it, it also looks like a gift bag. So that's a plus. So that's it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, press the like button. If you're new, press the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.